He was like, I didn't know anybody got shot. But so he gave that testimony. And then, that is what it is. Man, my mouse would be going to sleep or something. So then we go forward again to the next testimony, jumping around again. So now they have Officer Black testify, right? And Officer Black is the one who was training the young lady officer who had been 6 months on the job. Officer Black is the one whose car him and the young trainee was sitting in when the red car flew over their head. Also, another person who you could tell was clearly impacted and affected emotionally by what happened, because they asked him, like, how did you feel when you seen that car? He was like, startled, pretty much to say the least. He like, that, it shook me up pretty much. So pretty much they seen the car fly over him. What Officer Black said, they seen the car fly over him, crashed into the thing, and then crashed into the laundromat, and then they pretty much hopped out immediately. They seen people running and stuff like that. Oh, another thing, the officer who didn't want her face shown, I can't remember her name, sorry. The one who had been there 30 plus years, 34 years. She said she was amazed about them running because she thought everybody died. Or did the young lady say that? One of them who seen it said they were surprised that anybody had gotten out the car because they thought everybody in the car was dead. So that, I thought that was like telling, like, damn, they like that crash was that crazy that they thought there was no way somebody was about to get out of this thing, let alone run away. But anyway, so Officer Black is like, yo, this is like crazy. They flew over my head. And again, y'all know every week I say, like, if I say something crazy, like, just tell me in the comments, because I try to take notes, but sometimes I might have missed a little small detail or whatever, right? So y'all just let me know what I said wrong. But Officer Black is like, yo, the car flew over my head, and like me and the girl, we hopped out. Me and the officer, we hopped out. And she started to go after the two people. And I told her, stay with him right there. I get on the other guy. Then he starts describing the guy who he was on. He's like, yo, they asked him, like, what size was he? They're like, he's a bigger guy, like a heavy set guy. He's like, if I'm probably 350, like he was probably saying like 300 pounds. Like he was a big dude. And he's like, he was bleeding. He was also bleeding. And he's saying that the guy was like, about his size, he said he probably 6'3", 6'4", and like 300. So this was a big dude. He like, I got on his back and I could see that he was bleeding. He had an injury for sure. And he was pretty much the guy was shot in the back, right? And remember I told y'all, Officer L said he was standing in front of the car and started shooting into it when they tried to drive off. But the people who got out of that car injured with gunshot wounds were shot in the back. Okay, so let's talk about it. Anyway, again, this is Keith Adams questioning him to get that information out of him that the guy was actually shot in the back. So Officer Black is like, yeah, I get on him, whatever. It was funny because the whole courtroom started laughing when they said, were you around the same size now that you were back then? He's like, no, back then I was a little bit different. I was a little bit toned. They all start laughing. He didn't really think it was too funny, but I'm like, everybody in the courtroom started laughing like he was joking, probably because he's heavy set now, so, but he didn't really find it too funny that everybody started laughing at me. It gave me the same feeling that Trontavia Stevens, when he said, like when they had asked him a question about how old he was, and he was like, hold on, you throwing a lot of numbers at me. And they started laughing like they thought he was joking, but he was dead serious. Like, you got to slow down with this math. Like, that's the look that Officer Black had when they started laughing about him being toned back then. But anyway, so he's telling the story about all that. He's saying, like, I jumped on. He's like, yeah, the guy I had, he was injured. He was like hit in the back. But the guy that, the younger officer, he was actually bleeding out crazy. Like, he had a lot of blood coming out of him. And she said that the guy was on the ground pretty much begging the officer not to leave his side. Like, she said he was, Officer Black said the guy who was on the ground bleeding was actually holding on to her legs, begging her not to walk away from him. Maybe he felt like he was dying. So he's like, please don't leave because, like, I'm dying. Like, please help me, or whatever he probably was saying. There's no telling. Everybody ended up surviving that, but I don't know who was actually shot like that. So I guess we're going to find out more and more as it goes on. But he was pretty much begging, like, please don't run off like that. No, actually, oh yeah, where you say was shot in, one of them was shot in the pelvis and one was shot in the back. Okay. So So he's begging, please don't leave or whatever. And, then they move on to giving Detective Quinn's statements and all that. And it's funny because they keep on talking about Detective Quinn. And I don't know, I haven't done any research on why Detective Quinn is such a hot topic in this thing, but he is, right? So I guess we're going to find out, and maybe I need to do some research on Detective Quinn. I don't know if it came out later that he was dirty, or I don't know if it came out later that he was like a hero or something. Something is going on with him that they keep on bringing him up. Every single person that they question, they have been bringing up Detective Quinn, right? And Detective Quinn he's one of the partners of the guy who they interviewed next after Officer Black. And his name is Vincent Velasquez. Right. Shout out to him because he's not a police officer anymore. He said he did his time as a police officer. Now he owns a security consulting firm. He works with the Atlanta Hawks. He does high-end security services now. So shout out to him for using his police officer training to advance his life further. He looked like money when he came up there. I'm not going to lie. Before he even said that he was retired, I'm like, this dude is definitely doing something new with his life. I said in my head, he must be doing some kind of consulting. And then he actually said, yeah, I'm in consulting. So security consulting. So he gets up there and says, he gives a rundown of his background and everything. And he says he ended up being a part of the homicide unit at that time. So he was a homicide detective. And like I said, because it was an officer involved shooting, he was called to this event, to this incident, because a police officer ended up shooting somebody or shooting multiple people, whatever. So he was called there. He said Detective Quinn was actually next up. So Quinn was the one who was the lead detective in this whole situation. So that would be a reason why they keep on bringing up Detective Quinn, but it still doesn't really make sense why they're bringing him up the way they're bringing him up. It's very deliberate and it means something. I just don't know yet what it means. We'll see what goes on as they go forward. But Vincent Velasquez also said he and Detective Quinn currently have a TV show where they chronicle the events that they've seen as the homicide detectives. So pretty much like a crime story show. I'm sure they make a lot of money doing that because crime shows are extremely popular. Okay. So he's telling the story as he's seen it and what he had. And remember we talked about expert witnesses versus fact witnesses. He is a fact witness because he actually came to the scene of the crime. He did the investigation on it. He asked the questions. He spoke to people. He did all that. Even though he wasn't the lead detective, he still was involved in a way that, makes him a fact witness, right? However, when you listen to his testimony, he sounds more technical, like an expert witness, because he doesn't really have much information about the crime itself. He's not really even talking about that at all. He's talking about the scene. Like what he saw, shell casings here, what you can tell here. Like he was much more like an expert witness than a fact witness. But either way, he was there to tell the story of, I came. And also that testimony was on Friday and it was a half a day. So they didn't get to finish with him. They'll be back on Monday with him. So Velasquez is telling his story and he's saying like if you look here, we got these shell markings and this and this and this and this. And he only got direct examination. He didn't get any defense no cross examination. So, that was pretty much the week right there. We can interpret this as an interesting week to say the least. Walter Murphy, what am I saying? Is Walter Murphy DK? I'm trying to think. What the guy who they call DK, right? He is DK. I think is the one who was shot bad. That the lady was standing there helping because I think she said the one that she helped or the one that she went and got on was the one that had a D tatted on his face, right? I'm pretty sure that was what the young police officer said. So yeah, I think Walter Murphy is the one who was shot pretty bad or hit pretty bad, but. How would you guys say that this week went? I'm gonna say we need to see more about this incident because none of the people that got arrested for that incident that day, they're not in trial right now. So to me, the only thing that's happening right now is they're painting a picture about Young Thug. They need to play these recordings in court to show the jury, hey, some of those people that got away was Young Thug. Everybody who Keith Adams cross-examined said, they all said, I didn't see where those two men went that went and jumped the fence, jumped over the retaining wall, jumped the fence. I have no clue. Every single one of them said, I have no clue where those people went. Once they hit that gate, they were gone. We don't know who they were. We don't know what they looked like. We don't know what they was wearing. We just know they was black males. We really don't have any other information about them, and we for sure don't know where they went. So with Keith Adams establishing that all of the witnesses at the scene have no clue where they went, that is going to make it so that the judge, there's no way the judge can allow that recording from the 911 call to be played in court for the jury. There's no way, because you don't have anybody establishing the fact that they seen Young Thug run into some houses or run into some apartments or run anywhere in residential area. What they ran was they jumped over a gate, and the gate that they jumped over would have landed them into another commercial parking lot, which they also showed up there. So there's no proof that there's no eyewitness to say that he ran to some houses or anything. First of all, nobody has even said like, yeah, that was Jeffrey Williams that ran away. None of them knew who it was. So Keith Adams made sure he established that even the police officers, everybody, none of them could say who it was that was in that vehicle, and none of them could say where those two men went that ran and got away. Right? Again, with that being said, I don't see how it's admissible for that 911 call. And honestly, unless they get the man from the jail call to actually come in there and testify himself to what he was saying on that jail call, I don't see how that's admissible either. Even though it is a jail call and everything you say is recorded and all that, just because it's recorded does not mean foundation has been laid for you to use that as evidence in your state case. So I'm going to go with the side of, and you can make your predictions in the comments below. And if you see this before next week, we'll find out. I don't think that they'll be allowing that 911 call or the jail call. Only way that jail call is coming up is if that man comes to court and testifies himself. So y'all let me know what y'all think. That was a long way of talking about something that really one incident really that they're all arguing about. I think Adams is doing a good job letting it be known these witnesses don't know anything about Young Thug being there. They don't know anything. Excuse me. Sorry. These witnesses don't have really any valuable information to make this stick, and definitely don't have anything to make it connect to this YSL RICO. So shout out to the state, man. Y'all are doing what y'all have been doing this whole time, trying anything, just hoping that the jury will hear as much as you can to make somebody look bad. And because everything they're talking about right now is unrelated to this trial. Like, as far as evidence goes, there's no evidence that links this crime that they've been talking about all week to this trial. It does link it to some YSL members, but it doesn't link it to this trial at all. Okay, so let's talk about this. Remember a couple weeks ago, they brought up Walter Murphy being one of the ones who will be testifying, right? And they said, hey, we don't know if we're going to have to impeach him yet, so we know, let's keep it open. Maybe they're using this scenario right here and saying now would be the time to introduce Walter Murphy as one of our state's witnesses, and we're going to make him tell y'all everybody that was in the car with him. Because Walter Murphy can't say he wasn't at the scene of the crime. He got shot and he got arrested. So he can't say he wasn't there. Right? So, this is an interesting one here. But I think that, so now that I'm really talking and thinking through it, that's probably why they're doing this. Walter Murphy is probably coming up. Walter Murphy is for sure. He's on the docket. He's coming. So we're going to see, is he going to tell, or is he going to say, yo, I was hurt so bad, I lost my memory of that event. I don't know what happened. If that man go up in there and say Young Thug was in that car with me, social media is going to be on fire. It really is. And you know what? I'm kind of, with the way that they're doing this, it does seem to me like he must have told them that. And my bad, young man, I'm not trying to call you a snitch without seeing you. I don't know if you snitched. I'm speculating, right? Objection, Your Honor, speculation. I'm speculating, right? The reason I have to speculate is because I'm looking at the way that the prosecution is lining up this witness list, and I'm looking at the way they're questioning everything. They haven't asked none of the police officers to identify anybody yet. It seems like they want to get one of the people on the defense side, one of the defendants or former defendants, to identify the people in that car, right? Because you would normally think to say, hey, what you would say is, hey, that day when this whole incident happened, was anybody in this courtroom there? They didn't ask that though. They didn't ask anything like that. So it's making me think that they're feeling like they're about to hit the home run in a different way. They're going to paint this whole scene of this whole crazy scenario, and then they're going to have one of the people that they indicted on this YSL trial to come in there and say, these are the two people that got away. Now, that's going to be some disgusting testimony if that happens. And when I say disgusting, I mean it's going to make shockwaves. It is what it is. Everybody is doing what they're going to do. But if that is what they're setting this whole thing up for, just for Walter Murphy to come in there and say, hey, he was with us in the car. He got away that day, though. And this other person was in the car with us, too. He got away. That's one of the ones, man. That's going to be, that's one of them ones that will go viral for sure. So let's move on, man. They also was arguing about some court records or some criminal records about somebody named Bean that they want to testify. And Brian Stiller's like, yo, we've been asking for these records and they haven't given them to us. And then the attorney Hilton is like, hey, we've been trying to get the records too, but our records department is moving and we don't have access to it. And we asked them for it, but they didn't have it, whatever like that. So the judge is like, look, until y'all get that, this person won't be testifying. Don't even worry about it. You need to get them this, and you have to give them some time to review the records before anything like that, right? So that's another thing that's kind of like a small thing right now because we don't know what that person is about to come in there and say. And maybe Bean was one of the people in that car with them. I don't know. Maybe Bean is the one who was on that phone call that was in jail. I don't know. If that was his name, I don't really remember it, but we'll see. And I'll find out then. Or one of y'all can tell me in the comments what it was.